Satnam, Siri Bahadur.
No, I'm Kate.
It's been a wild and woolly February. Um,
Indeed.
I think
It's
you're.
not even over
No,
yet.
it's not. It's not. I'm on vacation for the rest of February, pretty much.
Good. Good.
Um, Last month we were talking about the protective mind, and I can say from my own experience that I have met my other side of myself many times this month, and I've also felt like I've met the other side of other people and seeing their um, need to protect themselves come out in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting. We still have another week of February, so we'll still be, working on that aspect. But it's interesting because when you look at protective mind, the phrase usually associated with it is longing to belong, and and that's what we're all about. We want to belong somewhere, so that's going to fill that kind of need. But we also don't want to be hurt while we're on the way. So that's our protection aspect, right? So the that that protective mind will allow us to recognize what we need to pay attention to, and if indeed, like we'll employ as we go into March, does does the universal creative life force, universal creative mind, take into account that we need to be protected and that we have needs to be satisfied? And the yogis and the sages all say, yeah, that's all taken care of already. And so, and in March, we're going to be investigating. Okay, um, how am I going to know for sure that that's in play? How do I know for sure that I'm protected? And how am I going to facilitate my creative expression? I mean, do I have to think all this stuff up myself? And um, and do I have to go to insane degrees of exertion to actually create something? Which, if we are working in manipulating the visible universe, and we call it the material universe, but it's just lower frequencies that are highly visible. If we go trying to arrange it to protect ourselves and to actually manipulate it to get our needs satisfied, we are using too much energy, right? And often we end up off going in the wrong direction.
Right, like asking in the one hand and then pushing back in the other hand, right?
Yes,
Like you have all these rules and resistances, and yet you're trying to bring the divine in certain ways.
yes, yeah, and doing that within uh, a a realm of the universe where you don't know the language and you don't know the customs, right?
Right.
Having no knowledge of universal law, but expecting to walk into that arena, not get arrested, and have everything work.
And
Be like
operate by
going
your rules.
exactly, exactly. We have established through our own idiosyncratic perceptual biases that we know what's going on. We know what everything means, and we know who everyone is because that's the rules we play by, and we're quite willing to make judgments that that go along with those perceptions, as corrupt as they might be. And there's nothing wrong with having corrupt judgments. We all have them, and we're getting along okay, except for some instances. And if we follow them too much, we end up with the kettle of fish that we have now, with so much polarization, so much judgment, so much separation and isolation, that people are really in a lot of pain. And what I was thinking of today as we're getting ready to talk is that people that are listening to this and engaging in this, are already far beyond where most people are. recognizing, hey, that I'm not so separate from everybody else, and I know there's a way for all this to work out, and I'm not going to get lost in the polarization. But what falls to us, though, is helping other people not succumb and to the insanity that really is afoot right now. So that'll be the focus of March. Okay, how do we refine our receptivity to the creative flow of the universe that knows exactly where you're coming from? It's like we think that maybe the divine intelligence of all that is doesn't understand us, doesn't know what we're saying, doesn't recognize when we're asking for help, or is just totally out to punish us for all the wrong things that we've done. I thought about that too. You just want to go to some people and say, no, the divine doesn't expect you to suffer, not in any way, no matter what you did. Just learn and get in tune. Just figure out what the dance is, learn how to do the steps, learn how to hear the music, and just move along. So, um, yeah, we will investigate our willingness to entertain the possibility that the divine already supports me, already protects me, already is arranging the entire cosmos within my neighborhood to support what I'm asking for. So it's up to me then to figure out what am I asking for. And I'm asking for what I'm thinking about most of the time. So I'm deciding. Um, I'm not going to worry about world leaders. I'm not going to worry about any of that stuff. Somebody was telling me, it's like, yeah, you just pay attention to the things that you can control, and most of our control comes with our creative projection. Focus on the life that I want to lead. If I can focus on the life that I love to lead 100% of the time, and then use my creative energies and all my resources to spread that to everybody that comes in front of me, then things are going to be pretty good. So,
It makes me think of some months back, I got onto reminding myself, just serve the immediate need, the one that's just right in front of you that you can do something about, and give yourself completely to that thing and without any, I think when you were talking a second ago, I was thinking about how our ego is so quick to take things over. And even in our, we get to a certain point, everyone that's watching this right now is like in the reachable category. Like you're already open, you're already to a degree aware, and you already know something's not fully there. Like got the pieces, maybe they don't all go together yet, but it's there. Um, and I think it's very easy for us to slip over into a little bit of like the savior mode where we get to a certain point and we're like, oh, okay, like all of these people are in pain and I see that and I want to do something and contribute. And it's like you kind of have to dial back that ego thing again to be like, okay, not this is about my projection and the energy, like you're saying, about what creative potential I'm bringing into this situation and how much attention I'm giving to something, as opposed to once again like taking over with these rules and concepts and formulas that we're trying to constantly sort of overlay onto our experience.
right, yes, exactly. So avoiding falling into the pitfall of judging everything by what we've been taught to believe. It's interesting. I was talking with a friend just last week that says, one of the best things you can do is take a look at what you believe and one by one figure out where that came from and if it works or not, right? Because what we believe dictates how we're thinking and where we're putting our energy, when in fact, uh, for the yogini and yogi, for the sage, for the people that are looking to elevate the frequency, a lot of our efforts are going to go to, okay, set aside, especially the beliefs that don't work, and and the whole thing of getting into the Garden of Shunya is just setting aside all the beliefs. Set aside the body, set aside the mind, set aside the emotions, not compartmentalize them, but let them just flow into the space without grasping at them, without trying to change them. Just let them flow. And in that release of attachment to those beliefs, circumstances, and sensations from the past, then the unknown will begin to flow. It's like we are just usually, and when I look at it for myself, I am so preoccupied with the same rumination chain cycling time after time after time. Even when it's like sometimes I'll just go when I'm laying in bed going to sleep, when I'm laying in bed waking up, I'm running this contemplative prayer through my head. And sometimes it's about maybe 10 sentences long. And I'll get through the first sentence and then I'm off. And then I go, oh yeah, maybe who knows how long later. Let's get to the next one. And it's like through the whole process of that, I've been on a mental and etheric walkabout about 5 or 6 times, right? Unless I'm like really awake and then I can just tack it one by one. But especially um, trying to contemplate on it. Say, okay, here's it. You know, that mother father life is my constant support, my protection, my health, fulfillment of everything I need. And you think about that, and the ruminations come. But for the yogini and yogi, it's like, okay, if you want to talk to the divine, first of all, you have to learn the language, and then just say, hey, just I'm going to go into shunya. If a weed pops up, I'll pull it out and I'll put it in the weed pile. If a flower comes up, I'll water it, I'll fertilize it, and watch it grow. But by and large, the divine has the the basket of seeds that will work for my garden. And but I don't know what they are. I don't know what they look like. Well, I do know what they look like because they're typically our virtues and our values
Mm,
and how we help other people find their fulfillment. But we don't know when they're going to come from. We don't know when they'll appear or any of that. We don't know where our next cinematic experience, what
mm.
actors are going to play in my movie of life. So the idea of getting into shunya and just allowing the unknown to become known for a minute. And as soon as it becomes known, you deal with it and let it go because there's so much unknown available that is available to lend meaning and beauty and texture in our lives, and uh, letting go of the judgments that will prevent some of that unknown from unfolding is what the yogi is about. So,
It's so interesting because I felt like when you said this, there's so much unknown. It was just it's such an obvious it really if you're a thinker, if you're a philosopher at any level, which I am a super nerdy philosopher, it's that's such an obvious statement, and yet there's so much fear associated with letting go of anything, and I felt that fear like, oh no, no, I can't, I can't let go and make space, and it's so interesting because I think no matter where we are in our practice and how much we've journeyed with our work, those fears and those things, they're still part of our makeup all the time. And we go through these cyclical processes of, okay, I'm not ready to let go of this one yet. We're going to circle back on that and reevaluate it down the road.
yeah, yes, I appreciate that, and that's the beauty of having a daily practice, is that every day you have the opportunity to look at those little nagging beliefs or nagging uh, attention grabbers that cause us our distraction and present themselves as the pure, undeniable known that is universal and true. Since it's true for me, it's true for everybody.
Mm.
It's like the practice is all about looking at all those things and going, well, maybe it's a little biased, right? And not only is it biased by me and what I feel is right, it's biased because somebody that really wasn't qualified to teach me taught me that as one of the essentials of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Um, so much to unpack there.
yeah.
I think it brings up this having the wonder of a child, and being innocent in the garden, which is such an important, I think, really the root of so much spirituality is that reminder to us that this is the garden. It always has been. We never were outside of the garden. We never were exiled. Just in our heads,
Mm-hmm.
we were
Yeah.
exiled, you know, and that
Yes.
bringing that wonder and that curiosity back in is really sort of where that's at. But so
Yeah.
for people who don't know, March is a 3. So can you speak a little bit, sort of technically speaking, from the numerological perspective of 3 and what that actually means and why that's relevant for the work this month?
Right. Well, three having to do with the creative mind, with the ability to project. And in terms of the arc line, the ability to create blessings, the ability to hold a space where you can, without determining the method involved or the timing involved, you can hold a space where someone, for their own highest good, will find the way through whatever difficulty or whatever situation they're in. But the it's interesting if we're looking for a phrase for that three, it would be, can I recognize my will, my what I think involves my protection and the satisfaction of my needs? Can I notice that, but allow it to come into alignment with divine will? Because it's like we create by our thinking, and usually our will is involved in procreating and expanding that way of thinking. So the divine is constantly managing all of creation to bring to each of us what we're thinking about,
Mm.
right? So two is about watch what you're thinking and eliminate the bad thinking. Bad, right?
Right.
Nothing's bad. But with the three now, it's like allow the divine to um, one, clear your garden, help you weed, and then notice what's coming as you shift your thoughts, noticing that divine will take care of you perfectly immediately.
Mm.
And I was talking with somebody yesterday again. It's like not that all of these things are going to stack up where you can see them lined off into the future, but your needs will be satisfied as they're needed.
Mm.
So a lot of the times it feels like you're walking to the brink of the cliff and your next step is going to be over the edge, but the divine has um, divinely offered the next step and with solid footing for you, and will furnish the needs as they're required. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do anything. But the idea for the yogini and yogi is, hey, is my will the will of the thou or thine?
Mm.
Those old um, pronouns that are attributed usually to the divine, thou and thine, are reminders that, yeah, there is intelligence. I'm not the only intelligence in the universe. There's divine wisdom operating within all the light forms of creation. And so, if I want to be prosperous, if I want to be abundant, all I have to do is align with the divine, and I don't even have to work for it,
Yeah.
right? All I have to do is spread the goodies as they come.
Right.
And that's what we're not really used to doing.
Right.
So I think if you got down to it, sometimes I read devil or divine, and devil is just de-willing the flow of
Mm,
creativity from the divine.
right.
So it's like it's
Yeah.
not that de-willing is bad. It's all good because you can't make a mistake,
Right.
and you can't make a choice different from the one that you made. Otherwise, you would have made it. So before we make a decision, there's all kinds of options, but our egocentric mind, our destiny or our fate will direct us to the decision that will serve us best to bring us to the realization that um, the divine knows best. It's kind of like that old series, that old sitcom, Father Knows Best, right? Well, the mother, father of the universe does really know best if you just come to understand the wisdom behind it.
Right.
So, the call is for everyone practice daily as best you can. Join us when you can. And, just tune in every once in a while for inspiration. And also, if you go to the website, you can interact. You can leave comments. You can impart your wisdom, your feedback, because we're all learning from each other. Nobody is the end all be all of wisdom. So,
Well said. And I, for one, and I know others watching this would agree that we're very grateful to
mm,
enjoy your brand of wisdom and participate with you at this level because it's such a solve, um, in these times. And hopefully, people will join class and, like you said, engage with us at the website. And we'll have some new videos and things that come out. So definitely subscribe to the email list, subscribe here on YouTube, and follow where you can on Facebook and the America's Awakening group. And stay connected because we all need each other, just like you said, to share and grow in that grace and in that wisdom. So beautiful.
very good. Thank you so much, as
Thank you.
always, Kate.
It's always such a pleasure. Satnam.
And